It's a full court shot and nothing but net for hoops. That's an update on that story we've been talking about. And did Constellation just disappear from the sky? We'll talk about that. Hey, some $20 Chianti Classico recommendations, and wine service doesn't have to suck. All that and more on this episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, hello, everybody. It's another week of This Week Uncorked. This is for Monday, March 17th, 2025. Episode something 35. We just keep rolling with these things. Hey, I'm Brett Martin from Corkage Journey. It's your number one source for Corkage fees, wine reviews, winery reviews, restaurant reviews, and more. And with that, we got a lot of news, so let's get into this week's news. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about this ongoing battle between Hoops Winery and County of Napa, constantly trying to shut down this winery. There are a couple others that are involved in it. And there basically was basically you lost. The judge said, sorry, you can't wait while all the other lawsuits happen. And you got to shut down your tasting room, and you got to shut down your petting zoo, and you got to shut down everything, and you can't have any visitors, and you can't sell directly to consumers, and you can't do any of that. And so guess what? It's not over. You can score one for the little guy because the First District Court of Appeals has issued a stay against Napa County's injunction. Anyway, here is something from the press release. The stay indicates the court found strong showing of a likelihood of reversal on appeal and irreparable harm to Hoops if the order stayed in place pending any appeal. The injunction currently could not be enforced as to any of its terms. The county's injunction shuttered Hoops, a property entitled for winery and licensed by the ABC as a winery, by prohibiting critical winery activities otherwise allowed throughout the zoning district. And then we've got a really nice quote from Lindsay Hoops, who, by the way, I've never met. I have enjoyed her wine tremendously, but I've never met Lindsay's. But she kind of sums it all up here. A winery is a state license. Our position is that what a winery is and does is defined by the ABC because they are the only entity that can issue a winery license. A county can say where it can operate and if it has a permitted use, but as to how it sells alcohol or what a sale looks like, that's up to the state. Once a license issues, only the ABC or the Supreme Court can take it away. So anyway, congratulations on this long, ongoing saga that is years in the making. And anyway, it's still in the courts. So we'll see where it eventually ends up. But at least they can still do tastings, and there's a whole part in there around the petting zoo, and I'm not sure what's happening with the petting zoo, but they have a little petting zoo, and maybe it's still there, maybe it's not. I guess that some animal rights activists, I can't figure it out. Anyway, that's what's happening there. Hey, also from wine business, it appears that Constellation Brands is thinking about exiting the wine business. I guess when times get tough, the tough get going. It's an interesting article about the downturn. It's by Syrah Brown. And from the article, the purported deal would break up Constellation's wine portfolio between Della family wines and Duckhorn, which was acquired by Butterfly Equity in December 2024. Coastal Brands and the assets would go to Duckhorn, while Della would acquire Constellation's Central Valley wine business, which is kind of the bulk of their wine business. And also continuing, that says, this past summer, the New York-based beer, wine, and spirits company disclosed in an earnings call it was considering selling some of its less premium non-core brands and vineyards to help offset deficits from an overall industry downturn, as well as recent acquisition of Sea Smoke in Santa Barbara County. At the time, Bill Newlands expressed the belief that the wine industry would make a turnaround by the end of 2024. Well, that turnaround never came. However, in the 3 months ended November 30th, 2024, Constellation reported wine sales had fallen 16.4% to 5.1 million cases, netting a $431.4 million in sales, down 14% versus 2023. And in the same period, beer shipments were up, profits were up. looks like Constellation may be exiting the wine business altogether. So we've go from consolidation to breaking up, and who knows? And moving on, one more article here before the break. San Francisco Chronicle, Esther Mobley and Jess Lander got together on how Trump's wine tariffs could crush California wineries. Now, this is such a fluid situation because there are tariffs, there aren't tariffs, there are tariffs, there aren't tariffs. But anyway, from the article, on Tuesday, Quebec Premier Francois Legault, hopefully I didn't botch that too bad, Francois, announced that all American alcohol products would be removed from the province shelves in retaliation for the 25% tariffs that President Trump has imposed on all Canadian products entering the U.S. The Quebec's prohibition on American booze mirrors those instated in Ontario, British Columbia, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. Labrador wasn't immediately clear as to whether that ban would be lifted after Trump put a pause on the tariffs, then he reinstated the tariffs. We don't know. The interesting part about this is this last paragraph. The impact on U.S. alcohol will be major as Canada is the largest export market, responsible for over $1 billion in annual sales. And it comes, of course, as the American wine industry is experiencing a sharp decline in sales, and wineries of all sizes are struggling to remain solvent. So crazy. So on top of everything else, we have that. Oh, Canada. I hear they boo our national anthem now. Hopefully that stops soon because you're our friends. We've always been friends. Let's stay friends, please. Anyway, quick word from our friends. Quick first shout out is for SOMM TV. If you don't know, SOMM TV is your one-stop shop for all things wine-related videos. It's its own little channel. It's on the Roku. It's on the Apple TV. It's on Google TV. You can get it everywhere. You can get it on your phone, your iPad. Fantastic channel. Wine videos, blind tastings, vineyard tours, movies about wine. It's all things wine. New content coming out every week. You have to click the link in our show notes. And if you click that, you're going to get 50% off the monthly subscription. It's going to cost you $3.49 a month for your subscription to SOMM TV. Well worth it. Check it out. Give it a try. And also, I want to do a quick shout out to Rex Pickett over at rexpickettbooks.com. He's the author of Sideways. There are 4 Sideways books. I'm told, a little bird told me a 5th one's coming out soon. And maybe a 6th. So I don't know. Anyway, but if you head over to rexpickettbooks.com and use the code CORK10, you will get 10% off your entire purchase. Rex will autograph it for you. Support Rex. Great writer, one of the few people that writes about wine intelligently in his novels. So check that out as well. And now, moving on with the news. Hey, Wine Searcher's got an article on Chianti Classico is still a value bet. So this is Wine Searcher's W. Blake Gray, and he digs deep to find some great values around the $20 range. He says, hey, if you find it for a few dollars more than I say here or there, don't reach out to them, but you can find it for around that price. And it's kind of a tip of the hat to Eric Osmov over from the New York Times, who basically has been his 20 bottles for under $20 articles he's been publishing for a while. It's probably going to have to go up in price sometime. From the article here, this year, inspired by Osmov, I decided to do what the newspaper folks call a reader service. I made a list of every Chianti Classico that is available somewhere in the U.S. for less than $20 or less, and I tasted all of them. And now I'm going to recommend the best of them, all of which he personally gave more than 90 points. Don't write him if you find it for $23 at your local store. They were $20 somewhere in February. The method forced me to ignore many of my favorite brands while getting me to taste the big brands that give Osmov the hives. But I think if he tries these wines, he will like them, because another thing we agree on is the greatness of the good. In other words, a wine that goes with dinner need not punch you in your face with its awesomeness, but instead be judged whether or not the bottle is empty at the end of the night. Gives a quick shout out. Thanks for the inspiration, Eric, and keep up the slog so I don't have to. But it's a great list. And you know what? I went through, did a quick search on Cork and Journey for Chianti Classicos that we had reviewed. 2 of the 3 of them were in that $20 price point. One we gave 87 points. So that kind of falls into this, hey, you can finish it with dinner. But one we gave 92 points to, and I think it was $24. So dig into your Chianti Classico. See what you can find. It's great wine. You like Sangiovese? That's what Chianti Classico is. So give it a try. And kind of wrapping it up now with the news anyway. VinePair has an article, Why Wine Service Sucks Right Now, but Doesn't Have to. I'm not sure I agree with all this, but I thought it was interesting. So VinePair's Dave Foss on how, sometimes, but not often, he would more than, like wine service not to suck so badly. But he doesn't mention in the article the big one for me. Have you ever ordered a bottle and you're watching the waiter, there's not a SOMM or someone, try to open it and you're just, stop. You kind of have to get up and take the bottle from them and open it because they seem to clearly have no idea how to open a bottle of wine. Or bad, if it's a big bottle and you brought it in from a corkage and they start decanting it, you're like, wow, how's this going to happen? So anyway, because it really, it can be painful sometimes. So here's his game plan for better wine service. Train the entire staff, not just the SOMM, kind of what I was talking about. Servers should have a few go-to wines they love if they can confidently recommend. Teach the staff to read the room. Not every guest wants an entire backstory on a wine. Some people love hearing about the volcanic soil and the winemaker's near-death experience with pesticides. Others, they just want a glass of red wine. And lastly, empower the staff to sell. One server at Della had 3 light reds at different price points that she adored, and she sold them constantly because she had the knowledge and confidence to do so, and because she genuinely loved wines, the guests would perk up at her enthusiasm. So there you go. Nice little thing there. I will tell you a funny story. I think we talked about it. I became a grandfather recently, if I haven't mentioned that. Grandfather. That's right. Anyway, we were out with some friends celebrating the birth of my granddaughter, and my buddy brought 2 big, massive California cabs to dinner. And they were a little older, and so they needed to be decanted. And the waiter honestly didn't have a clue. And I stopped him. I said, "Do you mind?" He goes, "Not at all. Not at all." And I taught him how to decant an old wine, and I had him hold my phone up so that the light was under the, and I could kind of go through and watch the sediment. And he just was fascinated. And he's like, wow, no one's ever taught me that before. And so there you go. So I think that Mr. Dave Foss is on to something here. Maybe a little staff training. It doesn't have to be you don't have to be a SOMM. Just some basics would be helpful. All right. And with that, let's move on to our wine and winery of the week. All right, this is a tasting room, kind of a winery, because it's different than your average tasting room. This is the Vintners Collective in Napa, California. It is in downtown Napa Valley. So if you are there, it's an old historic building, dates back to like the 1800s. Currently, 21 different vintners have their wines here. So you are a part of the collective. They've got a beautiful downstairs tasting area. They've got an upstairs tasting area. This is where we did our interview with Rex Pickett, where we did the Merlot blind tasting, and they were gracious enough to let us use their entire upstairs area to film that with Rex. But if you do stop in there, Rex is there all the time, and he'll sign a book for you because it's kind of his place. He can walk to it from his house in downtown Napa. But they've got some great wines. There's 21 different wineries that are there, and these are all small boutique producers, so nobody big. So it's just like someone making a couple barrels a year, 4 or 5 barrels a year. Not a lot of cases. And they're basically selling their wines through the Vintners Collective. So a great place to taste some wines you probably have never heard of, from some winemakers you've definitely never heard of, and give it a shot. So real big shout out to these guys. Everybody there was just extremely gracious and well worth your time if you were in downtown Napa, bopping around some of those tasting rooms down there or having dinner. And with that, our wine of the week, kind of tip of the hat to the Syrah, or to the Chianti Classicos we were talking about earlier, is the 2017 Casta de Vinos Casta Tinta Syrah. So we recently did this whole Valle de Guadalupe thing. By the way, on the video, I say Valle de Guadalupe. It's Valle de Guadalupe, but I don't know, for some reason I've always called it Valle de Guadalupe, and so either way, don't write me about that. But the 2017 Casta de Vinos Tinta Syrah, this is killer. We rated it 93 points. This is a fantastic Syrah, delivering incredible value. And this is the kind of thing, when you're looking at the prices of wine, this is what you need. Now, unfortunately, you probably got to take a day trip down there to get it. And if you don't live in Southern California, then it's pretty much more than a day trip. But anyway, fantastic wine and highly recommended. And we also have completely updated our guide to Valle de Guadalupe on Cork and Journey. We're adding to it all the time. We're constantly keeping that updated, and we got a whole bunch of things in there as well. And with that, let's move on to our restaurant and Corkage fee of the week. All right. Della Santina's. This is in downtown Sonoma, and it is a can't miss. If you are in Sonoma and you're staying in downtown Sonoma or anywhere near there and you're kind of bopping around doing wineries, you want to go to Della Santina's. It is an Italian restaurant. You might guess that from the name. It is just warm, welcoming, amazing, beautiful Tuscan flavors. It's a family-run restaurant. It was a father and it was and his son and now his son and his daughter-in-law run it, and it is and they're walking around. The service is amazing. The wine list is great and really, really, really reasonably priced. If you did want to bring your own wine, they have a whopping $25 a bottle Corkage fee. So let me tell you, for a restaurant in Sonoma, that is reasonable. That is really, really reasonable. And it was we had a fantastic evening, and highly, highly recommend Della Santina's in Sonoma if you get a chance to go there. All right, everybody, that wraps up another episode of This Week Uncorked. As always, we would love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all social media applications of your choice. But, all the big ones, Facebook, X, Instagram, you got it. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next week, cheers.